And the first thing I see is yet another how many tanks meme, right? Because, they're all expert military commanders and military minds. Marco Mendocino and what's that other guy? The Jeffrey Dahmer guy, David Lametti. This is absolutely brilliant. If you're on YouTube, you can't see. On YouTube, you can just post comments, and on Facebook, just comments. But on Locals, you can actually post images and memes. And some people are taking some liberties with them, and they're absolutely amazing. Thank you. Who is that? Let me. You know what? I figured something out last time that I could see. Now, oh yeah, okay. Now I know. That is Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. That is absolutely amazing. Probably the funniest thing I've seen all day. Good morning, Beth. It's good to see you as well. Megan, good morning. Everybody's here. You guys are the best. We'll wait for a few others to filter in. Today is a big day at the Commission. Today is Blackface Day at the Freedom Convoy Inquiry. I'm sure you're all excited and riveted for the amount of ums and ahs, and I'm on about a little bit of crying going on. But we're not going to let all his bullshit get to us, because we can all see through him. And this is your positive space, right? This is the space where we're going to have some fun. I'm going to share some memes with you guys that you share with me, and we're going to take a kind of a lighter approach to this whole the circus that has become the emergency. It's a public order emergency committee, I think is how it is what they've decided on the acronym for the hashtag. So I'm just also setting up the Instagram live, which I do periodically on here. And I also got to plug this in, or of course the iPad's gonna die because I didn't set it to charge last night like I thought I did. And if we lose anything in the locals, I'll try to switch over here, but let's see what happens, because I think this is charged. Okay, we're charging right now. Let me just dim the screen, and everybody's starting to come in here. Okay, great. So today is going to be an interesting day at the Commission. I call it Blackface Day at the POEC. We should all get very excited for this. We're going to see some of the worst acting in human history is going to occur today. So think, you're going to get to witness on a global stage a horrible, terrible, failed actor try to convince people that he's not an authoritarian thug, which is exactly what he is. So I think we should all laugh. Don't get upset, and let's enjoy it. And we're going to start off with some positivity today, which is us here. And listen, the best route to positivity is reciprocity. And the way you can be reciprostic, is that a word? I don't know. Maybe I just made added something to vernacular. Is like, share, and subscribe. And this feed with whoever you want and whoever's in your network. I really appreciate it if you can. And just a particular thank you I want to put out to some people. I've been starting to clip out some of the reviews for the book, Honking For Freedom, this book right here, the true story of what happened in Ottawa during Freedom Convoy, all the good stories. And so I've been starting to post some of the reviews that people are putting in Amazon and I think Amazon and Kobo. I didn't see one in Etsy. Etsy, there's a little bit of a problem, but they're going to fix it today. So thank you all for your amazing and beautiful comments. That's the sort of, for me, that's the big reward, is the fact that everybody is appreciative of months of hard work and trying to figure out how to get this all out there, get the message to all of you. And there's no words that I could put forward to thank you, for you to understand my appreciation. Good morning, Sonia. Blackface Day. You get a star, Sonia. Judy, Canine Tracker. Yes, Trudeau will cry. 100%. I put that out there on Twitter. I'm like, do you think Twitter he's going to cry? And everyone's like, no. I'm like, did you forget the crying tour? Remember he went across the country and he went to every identity group that he could find in the country, and he just cried like a little weasel, like a little baby? Of course he's going to do that. I would expect nothing else. But I don't know about you. I'm going to be laughing hysterically when he cries. And hopefully I'm going to cut that out and do a little bit of a video of all of us laughing as Blackface is crying like a little, anyways, 4-letter word that we used to describe him. Pretend to cry like Freakland. You know, I missed a couple of minutes in the beginning, like the commission testimony, because I know how it operates, and it's basically going to be her narrative, which is all going to be complete bullshit. Was she crying? Did she cry as well? Like, fuck, we have a bunch of crybabies who have all the power in Canada and yet perpetually claim victim status, which is what I noticed she did the entire time. Oh, I was scared. It was dangerous. Then get out of government. Then you should have nowhere near political office if you're such a baby. Like, oh, these people are just unbelievable. It's going to be a shit show. The commissioner will protect him from words. You think so? I don't know. I mean, the commissioner's been pretty protective of a lot of people and has not allowed things to get out of hand, which is a little bit what we're going to talk about today. And hold on, sorry about my fingers there, but there's something going on here. Are we still going? Yeah, let me know in locals if there's any sort of problem. Just let me know. Anyways, so a couple of things. First, my first question is, how many tanks? How many tanks? Did anybody notice in that whole exchange, like, how arrogant these people are? Mendocino and this Lametti, Jeffrey Dahmer of politics guy. Like, what do they know about a tank? Have they been in a tank? Have they operated a tank? What the hell do they know to understand what the implications of having a tank in Ottawa would be? And you got a bunch of trucks. You bring a tank in. Then what? What, you start firing ordnance on, like, it's not a point blank sort of device. It's not, you don't park a tank in front of a truck or any sort of target and shoot. Like, it's a long range. Anyways, morons, beyond morons. They're so dumb. Fuck. Like, they have the intelligence of Wile E. Coyote chasing the Roadrunner. That's who Lametti and Marco Mendocino are. But anyways, there's a live event. So we're doing a live event on December 4th for all of those of you who are in Ontario or close to it. Mark here is in Oshawa. Good morning from Oshawa, Mark. Thank you for being here. The live event, the first one we're doing, and I've already got requests in Ottawa and might be doing it with somebody who's a quite popular figure in Ottawa, but I'll let you know if that transpires, if that comes to be. But right now, it's going to be in Wallaceburg, Ontario, December 4th. Now, there is a domain for it to buy tickets. Just go to Honking For Freedom Wallaceburg. It's BURG.com. And Wallaceburg is in the west end of Southern Ontario. Yeah, Sonia, the tanks was a joke. Yeah, I love that. I don't know if you've seen all the memes about the tanks being jokes, but I posted one up. They're amazing. They're so good. Anyways, so Wallaceburg, Ontario, December the 4th, and I'm going to be doing this event, a book signing, and we may do some speeches, some talking, some, hand-holding, and getting to know each other and spending some time. I'm going to be doing that before everybody gets their backs up, for some people who do, I'm going to be doing that with Bridget Belton. Now, I understand there's some people who love Bridget, and there's some people who are taken aback by Bridget and her testimony. I get that. Listen, there was a lot of friction between Bridget and Tamara during the convoy. Believe me, I lived it, and I saw it in real time. Me and Bridget have gotten to know each other, as well as Chad and I and Chris and I have gotten to know each other a lot better over the past several weeks or even months at this point. And during the convoy, we just met each other, so we didn't really have that time to kind of get to know each other and understand each other. And so we've now taken advantage of the fact that we have that time and gotten to understand each other. So the friction was definitely there during the convoy. I've spoken to Bridget quite a bit, and obviously there's a little bit of friction right now. It seems to be that on Tamara's side, they're very upset with Bridget, and I don't understand. It's Tom Marazzo who came to that event and got Tamara arrested. I specifically told everybody, don't go to this event. If you cannot talk to Tamara, don't go there, because the people who are in our legal system on the other side right now are looking for every small excuse, because it's so politicized, anything to say she violated her bail conditions and to put her back in jail. So only somebody with complete shit for brains would have shown up there who, had a restriction with her and take a picture with her. Well, that shit for brains name is Tom Marazzo, who went and intentionally, from what I understand, she was uncomfortable that the Marazzo was there, so she kind of knew that. And then he came and photobombed. They were doing a picture, and then he came up with a couple other people and took the picture. And it's like, you fucking idiot, like that's what led to it. So for the people who are upset with Bridget, and listen, there's friction there. Give it time. Over time, things will work out. But what I'm trying to work on is I want to get everybody together and on the same page. Let's not focus on our differences and the things that we have friction on. Let's focus on all the positive stuff and find some common ground. And that's why I figured I wanted to start this process with Bridget in Wallaceburg, which is where she's from. It's one of the origin places of the Convoy as well. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it'll allow us to, you'll allow you to get to know us in our full context, and her as well. And a lot of people loved Bridget's testimony. A lot of people disliked her testimony because she touched on some of that friction with Tamara. But the process, and we'll talk about that live. The process of the commission was quite grueling, and I've been through a lot of stuff like that in my life in various careers. And even for me, it was it was quite grueling. So in Bridget's case, she didn't have a lawyer. She ended up having a paralegal who helped her out. And it was a learning experience for everybody. Nobody really knew how this process was supposed to work. So that's what it is. But come on the 4th of December, Wallaceburg, Ontario, if you're in the neighborhood or you're close or you're in London, Ontario, whatever, we're trying to do it for that whole region. And it'll be a lot of fun. So, Honking For Freedom, Wallaceburg.com. Fernando's got an update for us. Breaking news. Good morning from Niagara Falls. No tanks here yet. I love it. It's so good. Listen, Fernando, if you see any tanks, let me know. If somebody happens to meme some tanks going over the falls of Niagara Falls, let me know. I think that's important security information that we would have to send to Lametti and Marco Medicino, the military captains of Canada's military. They're so pathetic. I think Miller will have a massive meltdown today. We haven't seen so far. He's becoming unhinged. You know what? You're ahead of me, K9, because I'm going to get to that in a couple of seconds. Okay, let's talk about Miller time. Miller Time's is drinking a little too much Miller Time, as far as I'm concerned. He does seem to be somewhat inebriated in some way, shape, or form. Why does the locals keep... locals not working? You know what happens? It keeps, I don't know. Okay, I got to keep an eye on the locals. I'm sorry. I will... Let's give the locals a chance. I think I know what's happening there. It keeps, I don't know, it keeps cutting out, but we'll see. I'll leave it for now. Anyways, so Miller Time is drinking too much Miller Time. He, again, yesterday, I couldn't believe it. So let's start with the testimony. Firstly, a little bit of backstory. Wilson asked me several months ago, and I don't know, it was tail end of the winter. I can't remember what it was. He asked me several months ago, what do you think I should focus on for the cross-examination? This is when I was still talking to them, when he didn't know I was already going in a different direction. I just let him talk to me as much as possible without telling him what I was doing. Because I know he's not... anyways, I don't want to... I could go on down that rabbit hole about Wilson forever, but I don't really care. He's irrelevant. But he asked me, what do you think we should focus on? in the commission. And I said, focus on the bank accounts, freezing the bank accounts. That's what everyone cares about. That's why you want to bring people together. It's the one issue that I found since the convoy that it doesn't matter if people are left or right or up or down or upside down. It doesn't matter. They all were really concerned about freezing the bank accounts, especially one of the largest voting blocks is the people who don't vote. Remember, what, 50% of the country doesn't even vote. They don't know what's going on, but all they know is government shut down bank accounts. That is the unifying thing you could bring to the commission, and you could, for lack of a better term, weaponize against the government and just drill home over and over again. Bank accounts, who had made the decision, who authorized it, on what authorization, why did you do it, how did you do it, what banks did you talk to, what CEOs did you talk to, who agreed, who didn't disagree. Just focus on that. So, of course, Wilson did the opposite, right? Of course he did, or his team, whatever. He starts talking about vaccines, and I couldn't believe it. He has the Minister of Finance, who's also the Deputy Minister. We had between 1.2 and 1.4 trillion dollars evaporated from our economy. And she just talked about the damages to the economy, right? In her testimony, she kept saying, oh, it was a threat to the economy. Okay, over $1 trillion evaporated from our economy instantly within a couple of days, and Miller didn't even bring it up. Oh my God, I was going to smash my computer. What is going on? What are these people doing? I couldn't believe it. Am I wrong? Like, is that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it should just be clown world, optics stuff. But I thought we were there to kind of get to the root of the facts, and why not focus on the things that would unify everybody, right? And the other thing is, so think about it. You have the Minister of Finance. You have this, you talk about scoring on an open net, right? Yeah, $1.4 trillion zapped out. She keeps saying, oh, the economy, the economy, the economy. Okay, and you don't talk about the $1.4 trillion. Is my testimony starting to make more sense? Are you starting to understand what's going on? I'll lead you through that if I need to. But we'll get to that. There was not one question on that about the bank run. Not one question. I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely shocked. This is, and again, this is the primary issue. When I went into my testimony, what I was trying to explain, that there are political forces that are trying to focus on, dividing all of us so that we don't unify, irrespective of our political differences, and that they wanted to paint the Freedom Convoy in a negative light, right? Because if the Freedom Convoy is unhinged, then the swing voters, or the not politically engaged voters, which is who political parties go after in elections, they don't have to talk about that issue because they'll just dismiss it as being a fringe movement. Well, is that what they just did? Because it seems to be what they've done, especially with all these antics of Miller time, going out and having a few drinks and, taking a few liberties, talking over the judge, getting thrown out, all that sort of stuff. It's just shocking. It's absolutely shocking what's going on. Moving on, and I'll get to this more. And hold on, I got a bunch of questions. There's no popular figures in woke joke Ottawa. Yeah, well, I guess special rules from the PM. That way, Trudeau has to have it. Yeah, I guess. Tom stated in a live video he heard a lawyer state things about Bridget. It was his way of shifting blame. Yeah, of course. He's the reason she was arrested. Don't want people to remember that. Exactly. He's just trying to deflect. And remember, Tom is he's not a bright guy. There's not much between the ears. So everything that he says is being dictated to him. He's like Trudeau. He's exactly like Trudeau. There's not much in there at all. Wins masturbated are defeated in Ottawa and Durham school boards. Okay, sorry, let me say that again. Wins Mask mandates are defeated in Ottawa and Durham school boards. The Senate formally proposed 100 amendments to Bill C-11, effectively killing it. We are on the other side of this. Right? Right? This is good. I told you. There's going to be bumps in the road, but we're going to get there. We're going to see some positive things happening and some positive action. Okay, locals is working again. Great, I'm glad. Early in the cross-examination, one group did ask about the bank account, but then the topic was no longer asked about. I thought this was suspect. That's Beth. Yeah, that should be the primary thing, the number one thing. Listen, when you get into politics, there's one thing you learn, one thing you're taught. Everyone cares about their money. It doesn't matter where they are on the political spectrum. And the people who care most about their money are the people who say they don't care about the money. They care most, right? As we see from the Liberal Party as they run these money laundering schemes all over the world, right? So it is what it is. Anyways, so back to Miller. So then he's cross-examining, what's her name? Freakland. Or what do they call Freeland. He starts doing his showboating. He doesn't even do that well. He's asking about the Nazi flag, and he's accusing some guy of carrying the Nazi flag. By the way, that guy works for a conservative company. There's a strategy company or something. It's the Conservative Party. So this is all theatrics and bullshit. Like, this is not real. But anyway, so he keeps the Nazi flag, and I thought, like, if you're going to talk about Friedland and Nazis and whatever, why wouldn't you ask her about her grandfather, who was an actual Nazi? Because it's her worldview that says, right, this is the postmodern worldview, the progressive worldview, that we should all atone for the sins of people within our own race or our own group, right? That's the progressive mindset. Okay, or the underlying philosophy. Well, if that's the case, if all white people are guilty of genocide because they're white, well then Krista Friedland is guilty of genocide because her family were Nazis. So if you're going to do the Nazi showboating, why wouldn't you do that? It makes no sense. But anyways, and one of the things that came out in the testimony was, and again, related to the banks, the bank CEOs told Freeland, whatever her name is, Freehand, I like, told Freeland to use military force against its own customers. That's us. We're all customers of the bank because we all have bank accounts. Excuse me? Wait. So first question. We know she's an airhead. I get that. But still, in her position in that office, why is that office being dictated policy from the private commercial banks? That makes no sense. And who the hell are they to say are they also military commanders? So we got the bank CEOs, Lametti, Marco Mendicinos. They're all tank experts now. They're all military experts. Like, what the hell is going on with this country? Like, it's pathetic. And listen, I've lived in banana republics before. I've never seen this sort of nonsense. This is absolutely crazy. It's but the entertainment value is absolutely amazing. But it's just it's crazy. The fact that Miller, because he's the only one. Well, I shouldn't say that. The girl from the CCLA, she was quite good. I know the theatrics for a YouTube video, it's not as powerful, but the implications legally is what's important here. This is why for a lot of people the showboating is so frustrating, because the showboating does not add to the report that's going to come out. That's just for YouTube videos, or maybe for campaign videos or cropping, or I don't know if Miller runs for nomination for MP somewhere, he can crop out those videos, right? That's what this is for. But this doesn't positively affect the report that the commissioner is tasked with. It just wastes all the time. So for some people, I understand it's entertaining, but legally, it's a disaster. It's a complete car accident, and they're essentially sabotaging this commission because they're the only people withstanding who are supposed to be on the side of the truckers, even though they only represent 2 of the 7 original board members, and I don't know how many truckers are connected to with him. It's not my understanding. It's not very many, if any at all. So why was the finance minister taking orders from the bank about, why is she getting, military requests from the CEOs of the banks? And why did we not focus on 1 point whatever trillion dollars evaporated from our economy instantly because of her new tools, because the tools her and Blackface brought in? Like, this is concerning. And I would hope that everybody realizes what's going on and understands that they need to start putting pressure on Miller and say, hey, you're not doing your job. You're not doing your job, dude. Like, what's he going to do with Trudeau now? He's going to have Blackface on the stand, right? Is he going to get to legal, substantive arguments that are going to weigh in on the report? Is it going to add to the report? Or is it going to be more, hey, you wore blackface. Why did you do that? Hey, people, we all know the vaccine restriction, the mandate restrictions. We all understand that. We know what that is. It's been done to death. But let's go to the legal arguments of everything. You can go to the legal argument of that, then move to the legal argument of economic damage to the country over 2 years, and then 1.4, 1.2, whatever trillion dollars being evaporated. Like, is he going to do that, or is it going to be more showboating? Is he, God forbid, going to be thrown out? I don't know. Boomer says, politicians joking about using tanks might even be worse than seriously discussing using tanks. Yeah, that's a good argument. That shows the level of contempt and disdain they have for you, for me, for all of us. And that's the whole problem. They think that we work for them. They don't understand it's the other way around, right? It's really concerning. Anyways, it is what it is. Okay, let me go back to some comments here. John, Trudeau will probably just ramble about nothing and run out the clock like Freeland. Obviously, he'll do that. A lot of ums. But I'm willing to bet there's going to be some crying. I'm excited to see some crying. I want to see him. And I want to see real tears. I don't want to see just kind of like whatever. I want to see real tears. Beth says, hey, you found your mug. Oh, yeah, I'm such an idiot. You know where the mug was yesterday? I was like 5 minutes late starting. I was looking everywhere for the mug. I'm like, where the hell did it go? It was in the microwave because I'm an idiot. So what are you going to do? But thank you, Beth, for noticing. Let's hope the punch... Libby says, yeah, let's hope, when she's talking about Trudeau, let's hope the punchline isn't the flag. If you noticed, when Miller finished with Friedland, was that not the most awkward thing you saw? He mentioned people carrying a knot, and then he just walked off, like thought it was dramatic. Like, I don't know, does he think he's Matlock? Like, it's not real life. That the legal proceedings are supposed to be boring. They're not supposed to be exciting. And it was just, I don't know. It's quite crazy. Patty, are Tom and police on guard controlled opposition? 100%. And I know exactly the people from the Conservative Party who donate to the Conservative Party, or used to be a big donors, and who are the ones funding it. And from what I understand, it's about $12,000 a month is what they're receiving. People in the financial services industry, from my community, I know exactly who they are. So, I mean, there's a bunch of people doing it. All of this is to ensure that the Freedom Convoy doesn't grow into a movement. Because think about it. You're the Conservative Party. You can't have an anti, or what perceived could be a conservative movement that's not in support of the Conservative Party, that has a Facebook group of 500,000 people that's raising millions of dollars out there criticizing you. Like, we out fundraised all political parties. That's why the plane flew into Ottawa to save us from bloodshed. That's all bullshit. It was just to take it over, right? Take it over. Let's funnel all the funding to an organization that is friendly with us. Let's take over the social media accounts as much as possible. That's why they're pissed off that I was running personal accounts. So they managed to take, after Tamara was arrested, then I got a message from the criminal lawyer that was dealing with Tamara's arrest, and she said, I need to I need to shut down Tamara's Twitter account because of, you know, her proceedings and whatever. Do you have the password? I'm like, well, Tamara has it too, but yeah, sure, here it is. Like, if you want me to log off, I'll log off now. And that was the first time I was ever asked to log off her account, was after she was arrested and they were preparing for her bail. So, and so obviously I did, you know, because it was the first time I was asked. So there you go. Anyways, we talked about, so when it comes to these proceedings, and I can't say this because I watch these channels, This Guy's Garage, Mr. Sunshine Baby, War Campaign, and I go in the chats sometimes and whatever, and I know people mean well, but they're losing sight of the fact this is a legal proceeding. This is not a vlog. This is not supposed to be entertaining. This has to be down to the finest detail, specifically what they said and what they were saying, and how they acted legally. Legally, this is really concerning. And, you know, the whole playing to the camera is going to be really detrimental. And it's doing what I suggested in the testimony, that we're seeing the Conservative Party versus the Liberal Party. One narrative is it was Mad Max and pandemonium. The other narrative is it was peaceful, it got out of hand. Yeah, it got out of hand when when everybody flew in to save us. That's when it got out of hand. It was fine before that. And because they don't want to have a Facebook group that has 500,000 people that they don't control. You know, one thing when you get involved in politics, you hear this phrase all the time. It's so obnoxious, is every issue, we got to control the messaging. We got to control the messaging. We got to I heard that like a parrot out of some of these people. Jamie Ellerton, for example. We got to control the messaging. We got to control the messaging. Like, shut the fuck up, you know? So this is the frame in which they live. So they realized with Tamara and myself, they weren't getting anywhere. We were not playing. They constantly were trying to get us to take up their talking points or allow their people to come in as spokespeople and whatever. And it was multiple parties. It wasn't just them, but a number of them were trying to take over the Convoy and make it their own thing, to crush it like they did the Convoy in 2018. They ended up eventually succeeding, but it took them a while. And, you know, this issue that's been coming up, I did a couple of interviews this week with journalists asking about, you know, this whole... And I never heard the word deal until August, when this whole narrative started to come out. I mean, that's how politicians talk. Deal, deal, deal. That's not how we talked. And it was like a secondary thing. It's just like, oh, yeah, some of them, Dr. G, how you doing, brother? Some of them talk about how, you know, when there's so many problems we were dealing with, that moving trucks around was like number 100 on the list of things that people were asking us about, and it kept the Tom Guy, Marazzo, oh, let's move the trucks around. Like, no, just shut up about the trucks and leave them. Let's get on to the bigger issues we got to deal with, which are mandates, contact with the government, fuel, getting fuel to trucks so people don't freeze at night. Like, those are all the things we were dealing with. And all of a sudden, the political group comes in and creates this whole rewrite of history that we were all focused on a deal, because that's what political hacks do. We didn't care. It was not relevant. You know, it was like so not important, to the point that I just kept saying, leave the trucks, just shut up and leave the trucks. Let's focus on all this other stuff. But anyways, I guess it's how they're going to try to save their ass, and also at the same time smear the Convoy, so it becomes undigestible to you or people in your social networks and your families and all that sort of stuff, which is why I wrote this book for you guys, so you can share it with everybody and hopefully make it a stocking stuffer so people can understand what was going on. And you're not going to hear very much about a deal in here, because it's not, you know, we talk a little bit about how some people wanted to move trucks, which made no sense to us. But that's it. That's all it was. So I hope they ask him about how he feels about trampling people with horses. I wonder if he'll cry about that. he'll feel guilty. Yeah, I'm sorry. And well, he's such a whiny baby. Okay, so back in the day, tyrants like Pinochet, Franco, Tito used the same tactics, owning the media, police, fear mandates, political prisonera, and seize people's properties nowadays. These are so-called progressive socialists, like the government we have today called the liberals and blah, blah, blah. No, I agree. And it was very interesting. In Ottawa, I had my friend Salman Sima was there with me. And Salman is, you talk about somebody who's pro-freedom, because he was, jailed, him and Sia and Sima and, a bunch of my Iranian friends. He was he was a protester for many, many years in Iran before he had to flee to Canada as a political refugee. They arrested him. He was on a hunger strike. It was messy how it goes on in those countries. And he was there with me in Ottawa every day. He's like, when they started moving trucks around slowly, bit by bit, because the truckers didn't want to move. And I was like, don't move. But some of them were being convinced by, I guess, I don't know who specifically convinced them. But Salman was telling me, he would come into my room, he'd say, stop moving trucks. Who is moving trucks? And I said, I don't know who's moving trucks. I keep telling them, stop. My area was media, and I didn't want to, I tried not to step on toes because they kept stepping on mine, so I wanted to set a precedent to leave the messaging alone. But he said, a few days before the police came in, he said, they're moving trucks. He was laying out the street, saying they're going to put a barricade on this street, they're going to put a barricade on that street, and a barricade there, and then the cops are all going to move in because you're isolating the trucks and whatever. And he said, I've seen this so many times in Iran. Who is moving the trucks in a way that they can more easily be kettled? Like, I keep telling them. They won't listen to me. Salman, I keep telling them over and over again, but nobody has, and there's some people, in that time, we didn't know specifically who. We didn't realize the idea of moving the trucks into Wellington Street came from the Ottawa Police Service. Like, okay. So I found out after the fact during this commission, I didn't know Marazzo was meeting with the police on a daily basis. He just told us that when he would disappear for days at a time, all the other volunteers were like, who is this guy? I'm like, I don't know, he's just some volunteer. He wasn't in charge of anything he wasn't on the board. He wasn't there from the beginning. He wasn't an organizer. He's just some guy who showed up and, pretended to be, Hurt Locker Tom sort of thing. And it's like, okay, fine. He, what's it called? He would disappear for like 8 hours at a time or disappear, not show up to the next day. And I had volunteers coming saying, who the hell is this guy? He disappears for like a whole day and then shows up the next day like he owns the place. And I'm like, just ignore him. He's just some volunteer. I don't know. He's just upset about mandates. Who knows? Whatever. It is what it is, right? I had so many times that happened to me. I didn't know he was meeting with Ottawa police. What was he doing? Was he leaking intel to the Ottawa police? Was he showing them where the trucks are and asking where the trucks should be moved? I don't know. Sure as hell seems like that, but maybe that's something to ask him. Anyways, John says, I asked Marazzo about the dealings with the city of Ottawa and French. Okay. I was basically called a troll and he stopped engaging. Okay, so there's your answer. So you asked him directly, and what does he do? He slips into cognitive dissonance and starts attacking you personally instead of answering your question. So maybe everybody should do that and say, hey, Tom, were you leaking intel to the Ottawa police? What were you, because he said that he was there regularly. He's meaning that, so when he said, he told us the reason he left for days at a time, he needs to think. That's how he strategizes. He needs to be in a quiet place and go think, and then he comes back and figures out what strategy is going to work. And I'm like, okay, this guy's a little bit nuts. And I just, okay, whatever, fine. Ignored it. I had too many other problems to deal with. I didn't know he's going to meet with Dean French, Doug Ford's buddy, who wanted the protest to end and who didn't support the protest, and the Ottawa police and the city of Ottawa the whole time. Like, hello, okay. So frustrating. So frustrating to learn all this stuff. But anyways, it is what it is. We're at 39 minutes. Okay, I'm going to cut this a little bit short because I know the things are starting. He won't feel guilty. He might try to fake it. It's talking about Trudeau. Yeah, of course. He's. I think he's a little bit of he's an extreme narcissist. And I think the negative kind, because there is a positive kind of narcissist, the one who wants recognition for doing good things. Those are the good sort of narcissists. He's a bad thing, a bad narcissist. I had a guy yell at me, I'm too involved in this, that Argentina was worse, and I should be happy to live here. Well, Argentina is worse, but we're all starting to follow the same playbook in these countries that have all these leftist authoritarians in power. So we're going down that path. So no, you might want to tell him, if you don't want Canada to become Argentina, then you should be talking about this openly and warning others about what's going on, because this is very, very dangerous. Just 2 years ago, Trudeau had a net worth of $2 million. In the last 2 years, his worth has risen to $385 million. Wow, he only makes $187,000 a year. You know what? He must be an amazing investor, right? They're all brilliant military commanders. They're probably brilliant investors as well. We need an audit to find out where all this money came from, probably from the bioweapon. No. Where it's coming from is the Trudeau Foundation. Once he was elected, the money started flowing into the Trudeau Foundation like crazy. And from what I understand, I can't verify it. This is what I was told by people who are in this industry who understand it, that most of it was coming from China. So maybe that's why he has admiration for China, because those admiration dollars went into the Trudeau Foundation. I don't know. How can someone purchase your book? And thanks for your work. Fernando, thank you. I appreciate it. You can get the book going to honkingforfreedom.com. And there's links to the main, and this is the book, by the way, we'll show you. So go to honkingforfreedom.com. You'll see a copy of this book there and a beautiful little promo video. You'll see the 3 links. Hopefully, Ellie will have the 4th link up today for ebook it, but there's Amazon, Kobo. What's the other one that's on there right now? Amazon, Kobo, and Etsy right now, which he's supposed to fix, where you can buy the book. It's digital copy or paperback like this. And everybody's asking me about audiobook. There will be an audiobook. I am recording the audiobook, and that will be sometime in the new year, and will likely, I'm trying to get it to coincide with an event that I'm going to be a keynote speaker at. So, but we'll see. I'll know more soon. But first is to get it through. It's a long process to record an audiobook, so I'm going to do my best. So thank you, Fernando. And Fernando, are you from, you mentioned Argentina. Are you from Argentina? Just curious, maybe you're not. But anyways, oh, sorry, no, that was Jesse. I apologize. I'm getting the two of you confused. I'd like to tell him, but he quit speaking to me. Which one are you talking about? I think you're Tom M. Is that what you're talking about? Sure, those trading numbers are better. Yeah, those trading numbers are better than Pelosi's. I don't know how exactly Trudeau's net worth is. Not everything online can be believed. Could be fake news. That's the other thing that's true. That, you know, even though we see a lot of fake news in mainstream media, that doesn't mean we need to swallow everything on the internet. But Sam, I think I'm in Ecuador. You're in Ecuador. You're in Ecuador. Prove it. Okay. Habla conmigo en español. Dime algo en español en los por allá. Anyways, okay. Questions and comments, and then I'm gonna call it a day and let you guys get to the blackface day at the commission. It's gonna be quite funny. And listen, watch it with entertainment value. It's become a clown show. It is what it is. Let's not let it get to us. We already know the template. He's going to call us racist, bigots, homophobes, whatever phobes. He's going to say we're a fringe movement. Canadians, their safety. Canadians were scared. All the parliamentarians were scared and threatened, and make up all this bullshit. And then if he really gets against his back against the wall, he'll start to cry and apologize. So I think I am Canadian. Okay, Sam is Canadian in Ecuador. Sam, I'm very, very, I'm very jealous of you. We left Canada in 2020. Oh, you moved to Ecuador. Oh, wow. What's that like? Where? In Quito? Very cool. I'm very, very jealous of you. I was from some other oppressed country, same experience that are going through here. And you're so right that we have to be careful. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm tripping over my thing because I'm getting like so many comments popping up at the same time. What's it called? Okay, so we left Canada in 2022, and yes, in Quito. I've never been to Quito. I hear it's beautiful. I've spent, as some of you know, a lot of time in Latin America. I lived in Latin America for quite a while, and I am very, very jealous. Whatever. Ben, yes, he's going to say just that. Talking about Trudeau. Yeah, he's just going to call us names, because that's liberal policy. It's been since Kathleen went. Liberal policy is just to call people names, and that's it. And that they think that gets them off the hook. But I think that's starting to wear thin. Couldn't afford to retire in Canada, but you can afford to retire in Latin America. You know, last time I was in Medellin, last time and the time before, I was out there's a chain of restaurants in Medellin called Crepes and Waffles, it's kind of like, what's it like? I don't want to say Cheesecake Factory, but something like that, Colombian version of that. It's really cool, very nice. Started by some woman who lives in Colombia. She only hires single mothers, and that's not because of identity politics, it's just because of the infrastructure. And it's far more difficult in the third world to be a single mother than in the Western world, whether we like it or not. That's just the reality. And so this chain it's popped up all over Colombia. I love it. It's absolutely great. And yeah, I mean, there's so many like good experiences that I have from there. And when we were then in Crepes and Waffles, I think it was in El Tesoro, if I'm not mistaken, I saw these retired. They were not Canadian; they were American. They were retired Americans. They were there, talked to us for a couple of minutes, and then I asked my buddy who moved to Colombia when I moved there, but he stayed there, so he's been there for 18 years. I said to him, are there more what they called extranjeros? Are there more foreigners? Are there more foreigners here, or what's going on? He said, yeah, man. He said, you wouldn't believe how many people are starting to retire in Colombia because it's so much cheaper to live. And instead of retiring in the United States or in England, where he's from, they're now starting to retire in Latin America, because Latin America is, because it's been lifted out of poverty, not entirely, but it's so much better that it's become so much safer. Not that it doesn't have its problems, but it's become so much safer that people are moving there. Now, they keep electing Hugo Chavez's all over the place, so that may collapse sometime soon. But that's the state that is right now. Oh, now I want cheesecake. Okay. All right. I think that means it's time to move on. A couple of quick comments, and then I'm going to move on. Dave put in the comments, he said, when I hear tank involvement, I immediately think of FPS Russia. If you search that, you'll find videos of him laying waste to cars. Can you imagine that opened up fire on the trucks? It would be a global embarrassment. I would imagine that type of action would result in Canada being invaded. I don't know if it would result in us being invaded, but especially with the Biden regime, right? Who knows? Who knows how that would... It would definitely be a global embarrassment. And, I mean, Trudeau is already a joke around the planet. Like, there's no one who takes him seriously and sees him as an actual leader anymore. But yeah, that would have just been detrimental. Number 2, for Mr. Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz. You should see her answer questions in Parliament, talking about Freeland. What a disgrace to Canadian. She doesn't answer questions in Parliament. She's just a smug, arrogant bitch. I'm sorry. That's what she is. And she deflects. She takes no responsibility. And she looks down at her nose at anybody who is not a progressive communist like her. It's simple as that. So I don't pay attention to a lot of these people. Like, people ask me about Trudeau. I don't watch them. I can't watch them. I just get nauseated because all I'm just watching is somebody lie through their teeth, and a whole bunch of people who just can't seem to understand that. So that's just my perspective. The last question or comment. I enjoy the interviews between Ben D, that would be me, and Mark Petroni on Saga 960 AM. So Mark Petroni is a conservative talk show host and a friend of mine. He has a show on AM 960 in Mississauga. It's also online, saga960am.ca, I think is the domain. So I do go on there periodically to talk to him. He was the first person, by the way, to break the story of the Freedom Convoy in, I think, in mainstream media, or at least in radio media. And I actually hooked him up with Tamara, and he had Tamara on as well, I think the following week. The only radio station in Toronto that speaks to freedom and speaks freely. That's AM 960. I'm ordering the book Honking for Freedom. And that's from Ogan. Ogan? And thank you, brother. I appreciate it. That's amazing. Please let me know what you think of the book. And don't forget to leave a review. So just for me, it's entertainment value. I love getting the feedback from all of you. And all the feedback's been positive so far. So thank you for all of it. And I'm going to share more and more of your comments, your feedback comments on my feeds. Just the only thing I'm considering, do I share people's names or not? I don't know. Sometimes I'm torn between that, because people want to know that it was their comment, and other time people don't want to. So a couple of people who I knew, I cropped out their name, because I know they wouldn't be worried about. But if I don't know who you are, and if you don't signify share this comment, then I will protect your anonymity, because we all have jobs. We're all subject to this attempts at cancel culture. Which, one more tip I'm going to give you before I go. We don't need to worry about cancel culture. There's a book everybody should read. I don't have a hard copy. I read the digital book called "So I've Been Publicly Shamed" by Ron Johnson. Read that book. If you read that book, you'll understand why Andrew Tate, like him or not, was not canceled and never will be, and why I have not been canceled and never will be. Just follow the strategic advice in that book. It's a story book. It tells a bunch of stories, but it shows some people who were able to overcome the attempts to be canceled. And if you know those strategies, you're not going to have to worry. Don't worry about your job. Don't worry about your work, whatever. You can say whatever you want, and you're never going to be canceled if you know what to do. So You've Been Publicly Shamed by Ron Johnson. I recommend everybody read it, and you won't have to be so fearful of the mob if you do. A big thank you to all you have done, all the rest of the team. Oh, they're pushing woke stuff here too. Well, you are in Ecuador, man. And Ecuador is quite leftist. The government is quite leftist, and that's the tool that they're using. They just started in Colombia as well when Petro was elected, and this is the woke communist cult is what it is. But the more they do it, the more regular people start to see it and understand it's a problem and are going to begin rejecting it. It's our job to speak openly about it, to educate people to reject it. And a big part of that is also reaching out to people across the political spectrum and being kind to them and bringing them on board with us. I'm doing an interview later this month next month with Megan Murphy. If you know who she is, I did an interview with her during the convoy. Megan Murphy was a very well-known third-wave feminist. She was one of the first people to be deleted from Twitter. And she was on Joe Rogan a couple of times. Like, she swims in those circles. And I went on her podcast, and she was a strong supporter of the Freedom Convoy, because from her perspective, the movement that she supported was all about freedom for women and for everybody. Now, she's toned down quite a bit. She's not so extreme third-wave feminist anymore, because she now has seen the consequences of publicly shaming, and she's a wonderful person. She really is. She's very nice. Don't agree with her everything politically, but we definitely agree on freedom and allowing everybody the freedom to speak openly. And as we get more and more people like that together with us, and we acknowledge, we have political differences, but overall we're all on the same team. That's how we're going to win this. So don't be afraid of, like, don't fall in victim to the binary argument, left versus right. People are more complex than that. We're all you're more complex than that. You can't be just defined by one word. If you can be defined by one word, then there's a problem. And so we got to treat everybody else with that sort of respect. And if we do that, then we'll be able to get more people to push back against this. Please, no name. Okay, fine. No name on the reviews. I will do that. Unless I know you specifically, I will do that. I'll get your book in January. I have saved enough by then. I'll have enough saved by then. Jesse, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And please let me know when you get it. And also let me know your feedback. Not only post a review, but send me a message on Twitter, or you're on, it looks like you're on YouTube. But if you're following me on Twitter, that's always the best way to get a hold of Twitter or Getter or even Truth. I opened an account on Truth Social. Let me know what you think. Or over here on Locals, which we're going to be doing some exclusive content on Locals soon. Last thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to cut it down. I submitted 100 and, well, I didn't submit 100. There's 109 pieces of evidence around my testimony, okay? And I showed that in a tweet. I took a picture of it and I showed it. And when you go to the commission website, of the 109 pieces of evidence around my testimony, only 3 pieces of evidence are available to the public. 3 of 109. That's a problem, because in order to understand the context of my testimony, you have to see all the evidence that I submitted. The interview process is just a 3-hour back and forth of different groups around that evidence, but the evidence itself is important. So I have an idea. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, because there's a limitation on streams in Locals as well, there's certain, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it all out. I'm thinking to do like a series in Locals where I will go through the pieces of evidence that I submitted to the commission. So, you know, one day I'll take 1 or 2 pieces of evidence. We'll do a live stream like this in Locals, and I'll explain that evidence and why it was relevant to my testimony and why it's relevant to the commission overall, why it's important. Should I do that? Do you think that's a good idea? If it is, then I will do that. K9 says, love, love, love the book. Okay, awesome. That's, thank you so much. Post all the info you submit, BJ Dolan, post all the info you submitted to your page. Oh, okay, you mean the evidence. Yeah, but I think also I should post it and then work through it. So that's what I'm thinking. Anyways, okay, last thing I'm just looking at, of course I will end up, if I end up my way sometime, I'd love to have a coffee and meet and have you sign it. Jesse, my pleasure. Where are you, Jesse? Let me know. If you're not on Twitter, just create a Twitter account, send me a DM, or I think the DMs are closed. So just send me an open message to, you know, follow you so you can DM me, and I will DM you and go from there. Tracy is sending something to Fernando. It's a link. I can't see links on here in the comments because I'm using an aggregator. So I hope it's not spam, but it is. Looks like it's a Telegram channel. Anyways, all right. Okay, Tracy, we're now spamming. We're now spamming. So can I turn you off? No, I can't. Anyways, okay. Let me run right now. It's getting late. Blackface is going to be on. And maybe next day, if I had a crystal ball, I would predict that tomorrow we're going to be talking about Blackface's testimony. So hopefully it's not a car accident like the rest of the commission. Okay, I got to run, and I love you all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.